Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from FantasyFootballScout.co.uk. My name, unfortunately, is not Gianni, as much as that would be really cool. My name's David, and today I am joined, of course, by Ali in the usual Sunday evening slot for an episode of FPL Winners. I've stepped in for Gianni due to some unforeseen circumstances, but I'm looking forward to this one, to be honest, to pick the brains of the current defending FPL World Champion after we come to this video pretty much on the full-time whistle of a modern-day classic of Premier League football, as Chelsea have just finished a 4-4 draw with Man City. So it's all going on, isn't it, Ali? What a weekend of football.
It's been an amazing game week I think, for neutrals, for the fans of the teams. Basically, thanks for stepping in, by the way. We don't do this usually, but I'm glad to have you with us today. So looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it's been a good game week for people. Good game week for both of us. I think we're both over about 75 points. We're going to have a look at our teams in a minute. Lots of goals. We've had Salah delivering. We've had Haaland delivering as well. And of course, we're about to head into an international break. So there's plenty of time for people to stew over what's happened in the last couple of days. And what we're going to do in this video, as we normally would on a Sunday night, we're going to have a look at how our teams got on, any particular issues that we're going to be dealing with ahead of the next game week. And of course, we're going to have a look at have a bit of a focus on some of today's big games. Now, if you want loads of information on the Saturday games, there's the Stats of the Day podcast, which is on the Fantasy Football Scout podcast channel. So go give that a listen if you want some information on the Saturday games as well. We're going to largely focus on Sunday today with a bit of a focus on Saturday. But yeah, as Ali says, it's been a really successful week so far. Now, we're heading into the international break, which is always, in my opinion, the best time to sign up for Fantasy Football Scout membership. You can save 20% currently on those prices. There's an advert on the screen right now if you would like to know some of the great benefits you're going to get from having that membership. When you've got time to pause and make some decisions, some statistics are always very, very helpful. So do sign up for that. So we're going to come and have a look at your team and how it's got on so far. Well, actually not so far. The game week's over, isn't it? The game week is now officially done. How your team got on in game week 12, Ali. I'm going to stick that on the screen. And before I come to you to talk us through it, and if you could list through which players you got for the benefit of the podcast listeners, that would be helpful as well. Just an invitation to those of you watching along in the chat at the moment. We've got Dave, we've got Joe, and we've got Gary all joining us so far. Let us know how you got on in game week 12. Did you have a good game week, bad game week? If you've got any questions about what you can do for game week 13, let us know, and we'll get those filing into chat whilst Ali tells us about a 76-point game week with Captain Salah. So you feeling good?
Yes. Finally a green arrow. So it's been a while since I got one. So I had Areola in goal. Not much of a use at the moment from the West Ham defense. I had Cash, who I think Villa forgot how to keep clean sheets because they've been, even though they were dominating, they've been dominating games recently, but still managed to concede an out goal. I had Gehi for some reason. I don't know. It was a last minute decision. I figured Shimikas on the bench hurts a lot with 15 points, but I had a weird feeling that Palace would, keep it clean. So my third defender was Gabriel, also with an unlucky clean sheet wipeout when basically I think Arsenal was really, really solid at the back in that game and didn't really concede a lot of chances. So my midfield looks like Foden, Adingra, Son, Salah, and Martinelli. So Adingra got me nice 9 points with a goal and bonus. So Foden didn't really do much, and a 4 goals thriller. I mean, it's after playing 90 minutes. I mean, you would think that he would at least get a assist or something, but nothing for Foden. Martinelli as well. Son without Madison, I don't think he had a lot to do in that game. Haaland was a 16-pointer. I think it was a good result. I expected a lot of goals in this game, but not this many. And basically, that was the reason behind captaining Salah, was a 16-pointer. So Watkins scored his goal, of course. I think overall it was a good game week, and I'm on a green arrow with basically 500k jump in my overall rank. I could have been much better if I had I played Simicast, of course, but yeah, it's it didn't go my way. It's fine. I'm happy with the green arrow at least. How did you do?
I'll stick my team on the screen briefly, and then we'll come back to yours in a sec to zone in on some specific issues. I feel really bad about this because I've just put my team on the screen, and I did actually start Shimikas. I'm gonna put my hands up now. I'm gonna say I'm sorry. There's people out there that have him on the bench, and I feel bad about it. But we'll start with Shimikas because I think if you benched him, I think it's going to be easy to beat yourself up about it. And I say this obviously from the position of privilege having started him, but I nearly benched him as well. I think it was a big 50-50 for a lot of people. And the only reason in the end that I started him was because I was so short of options on the bench. I've still got a Stupinian and I've still got Van de Ven because I had other flags I needed to deal with. And I'm happy to deal with those two flags after the international break. And I was relatively confident-ish that the three defenders I'd gone with would probably be okay. Earlier on in the week, when my plans involved fewer flags, Shimikas was on my bench. He was on my bench from my bus team for all the reasons we talked about in the week, right? So, the bad performance on the Thursday night, the fact that, this particular game might call for Gomez again, and being able to bring that set-piece defensive ability that Shimikas doesn't have, for example. So all of the reasons that convinced a lot of people to bench Shimikas nearly led to me doing the same thing. So whilst it is annoying, I think if you're out there, and there's a few people in the chat as well, and you've benched Shimikas for this game week, I don't really think we could have really seen that coming. And we're going to have a look at some of his numbers from the game shortly. I think he's a definite hold. It really hurts if you've benched him. He was a big differential for me, so he was a big part of the success I've had so far this game week. The rest of my team, I also trusted in Palace. I've had Anderson since game week 1, and I thought I'd double down on it for this week, and for the next few weeks. The fixtures are good, so I got Flecken out, Johnston in, but then, of course, Everton conceded 3 goals, and I feel a bit silly because I've been talking Everton up for weeks now and saying, hey, look, they're not actually as easier fixtures as we thought they were. And, of course, that's come to bite me when I double down on Palace defence. But the rest of the team's done well. So Cash only got the 2, but I got 5 points for Saka, 6 for Diaby, 16 for Salah, 8 for Bowen. I brought Bowen in as my Maddison replacement. Captained Haaland for 32 points. So, actually, thankfully, whether we captained Salah or Haaland didn't matter. Same score. So, I think owning both is the secret and captaining one of them. Alvarez got me 5 points. So, 92 points in the end, up to 39k. So, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at the moment. But a little bit of jam, I will admit, because the only reason I started Shimikas was because of those injuries. So, yeah, I mean, is that... We'll come back to your team and put your team back on the screen. The Shimikas on the bench, you obviously mentioned it hurts, but I'm hoping some of what I've said there has maybe helped you live with that. You've got a green arrow anyway, so sometimes you just have to take the positives and run, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always when you have a good bench, when you're rotating your defenders, you can expect most of them sometimes deliver points. And in my case, I think it was just you cannot expect a lot from the central defenders. I mean, center backs, and I had 2 of them with Gabriel and Gehi, and sometimes when Cash is bumming forward. I think he had a good couple of chances in there. But Shimikas, you could have predicted him to start up to start the game because Gomez played like 390 minutes in a row. And it was a change of it's a tactical change when Shimikas or Gomez play. So these are 2 different setups for Liverpool. That's why I wasn't certain. And I was quite sure that Brentford would score away at Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that played a part. So I don't beat myself too much because I betted on Brentford scoring. So it's all good. I mean, I'm positive. I have 2 transfers going into international break, and I'll be doing a lot of research, and I'll probably do a mini operation on my team, maybe take a -4 just to square things and improve drastically, hopefully.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was what your transfer setup was for the next couple of weeks. We'll come on to that in just a second. Great to see some more of you jumped into the live chat. We've got 218 of you watching live, but only 14 of you have hit the like button. And as you know, at Fantasy Football Scout, we love it if we can get those two numbers to be basically the same. So if you're in the live chat right now and you're finding this discussion useful, or perhaps maybe you just had a great game week, then celebrate that by hitting the like button for us. It's a great way to support the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to us either, make sure you do that too. We're going to have a ton of content during the international break, and over that period, it's sometimes easy to forget what the schedule is because it's not based around any matches or game week deadlines. So the notification bell, hit that as well, and then that will help you make sure that you don't miss a single thing that we are going to have over the next few weeks. But yes, over those next few weeks, Ali is going to have 2 transfers. So did you roll the transfer for this one, or did you already have 2 and just spend the 1? So talk us through transfers coming into this game week and what your ideas are for game week 13, which is 2 weeks away now.
I did roll my free transfer this game week because the only one I was thinking to sell was Foden, and I was thinking maybe to get Bowen, but I was basically outpriced just when the transfer deadline hit. I was like, I didn't realize his price changed like twice this week, and he went up to 7.6, and I couldn't really go from Foden to Bowen. So I just decided to go to roll my transfer and be patient a little bit, because anything can happen in the international break. And I think with 2 free transfers coming into game week 13, I believe I'll be changing my backline with Foden, I believe. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully not many injuries to my team during the international break, and I'll know more after a couple of international games. Let's see how their form change. I will make sure that I change some of my approach this year, because it hasn't been working. And I think I'll be moving towards players in form, regardless the fixtures. So Chelsea is coming into good form. I think they've been really impressive in recent tough fixtures. So I think I'll be looking at the players in form like Palmer or maybe Sterling. Let's see how they deliver.
Yeah, I've had my eye on Chelsea for some time now. Their fixtures get really nice in game week 16, but Palmer very much is showing that he can basically get goals against anybody. His stats have been great last few weeks, and he kind of just looks like the go-to Chelsea attacking asset to own, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not surprised you want to be looking at him. And so yeah, it's midfield then that you feel that there's going to be the most change for you, do you reckon?
It's not a rush to get rid of Son, even though his numbers against Wolves away weren't great. We have to take into consideration that Maddison is a long-term absentee, and he will be probably out until the New Year's, and this might affect Spurs' attacking output. We'll have to monitor. Son is not a sell at the moment, but we should be taking that into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a little bit of a look at that on Stats of the Day this week as well. Actually, the downturn in Son's output against Wolves, and I think we've actually got some extracts from the members area we could talk about on this show as well. So we will actually talk about Son as a more specific issue later on in the show for anyone who's got that current issue. But yeah, 2 transfers for the international break is really nice to have. I unfortunately had to spend both of mine this most recent game week just because of all those injuries. So I'm envious of you, Ali, being able to make those 2 changes in the international break. Someone else, well, speaking of envy, I've noticed something in the chat that I do need to read out. I'm a man that will front up any accusation that comes my way. And FPL Matty win a lot, who we very aware of you this season, Matty. We know that you really enjoy our content. He says, David, don't start bragging again about your jammy defenders. Returning. If it's not Anderson, it's Van de Ven, and now Shimmercast. You are just, and this is now in all capitals, so I will try and say this a bit louder. Luck. No skill. with them defenders. I hope you read this message. Don't worry, Matty. I've read it. I've read it out as well. So what's your take there, Ali? Have I been jammy this week? Or rather, I'm not the only one who started Shimmercast. So Shimmercast starters, were they jammy this week? And don't worry about making enemies here. If you want to start slinging and throwing out some metaphorical hands here, you do it, my friend.
I mean, David is top 40k at the moment, and he's picked those players, those defenders, for a reason. And that's for me, it's just good management, because that's why you pick your back line with rotating defenders in terms of one getting injured or suspended or unavailable. The other one steps in. So it was a good tactics from him, because I don't think he has a 4.0 defender. All of them are quite, I wouldn't say expensive, but they're not bench folders. So it's a tactic that David has pursued since game week 1, and he's kept with. I think he's kept his Estupinian, right? You still have.
Oh yeah, I've got Purvis still on the bench. I can't wait for him to be fit again for another 12 minutes, and then be unfit again.
Of course, there's element of luck in every decision that goes your way. It's easy to say in hindsight, but sometimes when you manage your team well, you have a good strategy. It's going your way, and you cannot just say that it's a jammy point, or so it's well deserved. You can only be envious of your rank and your recent performances, David. So,
well, that's very sweet of you, my friend. The tenor is en route to Azerbaijan right now. Thank you very much for your very kind words. I promise that wasn't the plan. But the thing is, I will put my hands up and say I have been lucky at points this season. I will completely appreciate that. There is always an element of luck, for sure. And yeah, thank you, Matty, for your question. We kind of enjoy these kind of questions, an opportunity to roll our sleeves up and really talk about some of the broader issues at large as well. So yeah, thanks, Matty, for that. And if you've got any other comments, put them in the chat. We're very happy to engage with those. Just to finish off on our team specifically, what my plans are for the international break. I want to try and roll my transfers if I can. And so I've actually got my current bus team, but I'm probably not going to be able to. And so at the moment, what my team looks like is Johnston obviously stays in goal, doubling down on the Palace defence against Luton. If I'm not going to do it, then when else will I? So just have to keep the faith with the Eagles. I'm hoping Estupiñán will be fit again by the end of the international break, but I'm not too sure. So I've substituted him into the team so that if he's fit and we know he's going to start, I'd like to start him against Forest. If not, I will have to sell him. So then that's why he's in the team. The same with Van de Ven. I'm probably going to have to sell both of them, may have to take a hit. And the reason why is my defence outside of that not looking great. So Cash is away at Spurs. And as you mentioned earlier, Ali, Aston Villa seemingly forgotten how to keep clean sheets now. And as much as Simicast has rewarded me for sort of accidental faith this week, away at Man City, I really don't want to start him. That, of course, is the ongoing advantage of him as an asset, because he is a lot more benchable than if you had Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. It'd be harder to bench him for a City game. So yeah, I want them on my bench. So it will be somewhat dependent on the Estupiñán. I think Van de Ven is a guaranteed sell. And in terms of who I replace him with, hard to say. I have liked Arsenal defence, but of course they're away at Brentford. I have historically liked Newcastle defence, but they seem to be suffering with their injuries now if they're conceding 2 goals away at Bournemouth. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't know entirely what I'm going to do. Like you said, Ali, I think it's a case of let's just see what the international break brings. The only thing that I've actually got my eye on next week, let's just talk about Game Week 13 captaincy. Actually, I've got my captain armband currently on Bowen, and the reason why is because we've got City and Liverpool facing each other. Now I made this bus team before today's games, where Salah and Haaland have both scored big points in big games. So I think we can say Brentford now constitute a big game. It's not of the magnitude of Man City versus Chelsea, of course, but we can see that maybe Salah and Haaland are becoming fixture proof again. And if that's the case, do we go with them, or do we need to look at other options? So as I said, I've got Bowen as my current bus team captain. I'll just have a look who you've got. You've got Haaland, so you've probably perhaps already voted with your armband. But it's an interesting discussion, the Game Week 13 captaincy. So what's your early thoughts on that?
It's a home fixture for City, and I think this game will always be bringing goals. I mean, I see 2 or 3 goals in a game, and it's just like with Chelsea. I mean, it will be back and forth attacking game. So I don't think both the defenses have done their their teams proud. And in a big game, I think it will be 2 or 3 goals for either side. And Haaland at home is always a good shout. If I bring someone else worthy of a captaincy, I think overall that game week 13 is quite tough to predict because of the fixtures. You don't see many teams playing obvious oppositions that you can bet against. But for me, it's a good fixture. It will be a lot of goals in that game, and Haaland is a safe bet. But in my case, I think I might reconsider because I have to catch up with my rank, and I cannot just captain Haaland and Salah every game we can expect climb up in the rankings. So Son is a good option as well, but it's yet to see. We're yet to see how he performs without Madison, and I think Postecoglou will still keep playing attacking football, but I'm not sure how well it will deliver.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? And the early signs are not encouraging on that in particular, which we'll have a look at in just a second. And you're absolutely right. It's a really fiddly game week for fixtures because the team with the best fixture is Crystal Palace. They're away at Luton. This is according to the Fantasy Football Scout season ticker for the game week, by the way. So maybe we captain Sam Johnston or Joachim Anderson or Gay, but obviously that's not really the kind of thing we would normally do. In the words of Black Panther, we don't do that here. Captain and defenders, not after Shane Duffy. Eze is probably a shout if you've got him, but at the same time he's recently back from an injury, so who knows? So the easiest fixture is not in the hands of a team that we necessarily trust for loads of attacking returns. Bournemouth and Sheffield United play each other, so it's like it's a game week where not only did Liverpool and City cancel each other out, so do Sheffield United and Bournemouth, because you would happily captain anyone who's playing in those teams most of the time. Game week 12 win over Newcastle notwithstanding. So that's annoying that they cover each other off. And to be honest, I look at the Burnley game away at Burnley for West Ham. I think is probably the best balance of a good fixture and a form player. Burnley are actually even worse at home than they are away from home. Interestingly enough, it's almost like they've been watching our content. We've been kind of having a go at them this season for the fact that they seem to they just don't know how to play against big teams. They have been trying to play possession-based football against the best teams in the league, and that worked for them in the Championship because they were technically gifted the best team in that division, but that's not the case anymore. Hasn't worked out for them. However, against Arsenal, it looks as if they have maybe started to try and shift more towards sticking everyone behind the ball, maybe in the away games against the big clubs. And that's where it starts, really. That's where we need to see them try it. And it was not unsuccessful for the first 45 minutes. And then, of course, Arsenal got the goal and then went on to win the game. I don't think they're going to try that approach at home, though. That's why they're worse at home, because they try and play football a bit more, they lose possession, they expose themselves, leave more space. So I think away at Burnley is better than being at home against Burnley. So that's sort of my mini case for a Bowen captaincy at the moment. I don't know what you think.
What I've taken from Arsenal-Burnley game is that Burnley were just really, really poor at the set pieces, defending set pieces. Maybe it's Trafford a little bit young or inexperienced in terms of defending his box. But Arsenal was a really, really strong threat on set pieces. And West Ham, don't get me wrong, it's one of the teams that always scores goals from the corner kicks and from other set pieces because they have good technical players that can deliver the ball in the box, and as well as the players that can hit the ball. And I think there will be Burnley will be struggling defending their set pieces in that game, and if I believe Bowen in some of the corners as well, or so you can if Kurt Zuma is fit to play that in that game, you can even bet for a short-term punt in one of the maybe Socek, maybe any player who can be threat from set pieces.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be a good one for the. And because there's a few people out there with some kind of West Ham investment in the West Ham set pieces for sure. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good fixture for next time, and we'll just see how my resolve lasts over the international break. Will I captain Bowen for that one? I kind of hope that I end up doing it because it kind of feels different enough, and it's the advantage of when you're at a certain rank bracket, you can take some of those risks and have a bit of fun. So that's what I'm gonna. That's what I hope I do. But we'll see how brave I am. Let's move on to some of our specific sort of game analyses now. We promised a bit of talk about Liverpool, and so we have already talked about Tsimikas from a perspective of sort of the tactics of FPL, and I guess the tactics of psychology of how we deal with the fact if we've maybe benched him or maybe started him out of luck. For example. But we have some stats from what his involvement was in the game. So, do you want to talk us through what we spotted from the Greek left back today in that 3-0 win against Brentford, where he, of course, got himself a double-digit haul?
So basically, he had 2 assists in the game with the bonus points, and the expected assists from open play was 0.15. Expected assists overall was 0.33, and they're not high numbers. If you think that it was some kind of a Tsimikas masterclass in the game, the numbers tell otherwise. Because Tsimikas is a good player. He's always attacking when he plays for Liverpool, but his attacking output and underlying stats weren't that great in that game. XG is basically non-existent, so it didn't take any shots, no shots on target. So basically, if he keeps playing for a Liverpool team, he keeps starting at home, I think he has a good chance of keeping his ceiling almost around 6 or 7 points. But in terms of attacking potential, I don't think we'll get many double-digit hauls like in this game.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was the view that I'd seen from people who had actually been at the game. They felt that actually, as you say, it wasn't a masterclass. We don't need to put him in the same conversation as your Kieran Trippiers and your Trent Alexander-Arnolds just yet. So yeah, save your comparisons with those players for now. And as you say, the XG is not particularly high. And the thing is, the expected data shows that I think you still get what you pay for with him. His price is a good price. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But it's a case of when we manage expectations around this player, I think we all knew when we bought him, he is simply just temporary sort of maternity cover until Andrew Robertson's had his baby, sort of. Rather he's had his shoulder back. It's a temporary thing. And we knew that there wasn't going to be much attacking threat, and so we were kind of hoping for 6s and 7s. And well, unfortunately, for those who bench Tsimikas, Brentford were at 6s and 7s today, and it was Tsimikas who pounced on it. But yeah, not big numbers. So don't worry. It's a bit of a reiteration of what we said earlier on, but the statistics from the game do encapsulate the idea that he is not necessarily going to do this every week, which is always important to know. Stops us knee-jerking too much, which is really sensible when it comes to FPL. Let's stick with Liverpool now and have a look at Salah now. Now, we've talked a little bit about a possibility of captaining Haaland in Gameweek 13. Salah probably also in the conversation. I mean, not only did City score 4 goals against a particularly mean Chelsea defence, well, that particularly mean Man City defence also gave up 4 goals as well. I can't remember the last time I saw Man City concede 4 goals. Of course, the next one is going to be at the Etihad Stadium, where it's a very different environment for their players. But Liverpool scoring goals, and so is Salah. So people are going to be very interested to see how he performed in this one, the Egyptian. So yeah, talk us through what you spotted there in that area of the game.
In terms of XG, he accumulated 0.94. So he basically overperformed his XG with one whole goal. This is a regular picture that we see with Salah. Sometimes he's not existent in the game. He still ends up hauling with a goal and assist or with a brace, just like in this game. But I think he's always a good shout. Salah is he's on penalties. He's a solid pick in any game, regardless of fixtures. In terms of underlying data, where it's not bad, it's not high rocketing as we used to in previous seasons, but I think it has a good chance of keeping up with the numbers. So if I pick him for a captaincy, I'm not sure because if you compare head to head Haaland and Salah, I think Haaland edges it slightly, and I would just, if picking between two, I would go for Haaland.
I mean, being at home certainly has an impact there. Not that I necessarily think Salah is incapable of scoring away from home or at the Etihad Stadium, but it's just a place where Haaland is obviously very, very effective. I'm just actually trying to pull up some Salah versus Haaland comparisons, which I'll read out rather than stick on the screen. While I'm just looking for that, I was also going to stick on your heat map of Salah versus Nunez. Now, in a way, we probably have to extract the Man City game from this discussion. But of course, with the way that teams are at the moment, there are some people that have gone without Salah. There has been a Salah versus Nunez discussion for several weeks. I think most people know what the eventual answer to that debate has been. And I think this heat map really just helps drill home the comparison between which one of these two players is the more important one to own, and certainly, of course, more captainable as well. So yeah, talk us through these really nice touch heat maps from the Scout members area.
So basically, Darwin had 2 goals disallowed in this game, and one was really, really close. Like the offside was caught by a toe, and it was just centimeters away from a goal. And it's the VAR decisions. We're not here to talk about refereeing, but sometimes you just, as a fan, you wanna see a goal, and you wanna see a goal counted, and that goal is just harsh to disallow because it's just centimeters away from a goal. So it's with Darwin, we know he's an XG monster. He will be accumulating a lot. So I decided to take a look at maybe it's a good idea to take a look at the heat map, because sometimes we're not, you could see that the work rate of Darwin is really, really, high up there, because he's always active. He's making those runs, and he's basically a threat from through the middle. With Salah, we could see that with so many players, with so many attacking-minded players in the team, I think Salah is more limited to his right wing. And nothing to say that he's not a threat there. He scored a brace from coming in the flank. And it just goes to show you that we've seen in previous years, we've seen Salah all over the pitch. And with so many good attacking players at the moment, I don't think Salah has a freedom to move to the left wing or to go through the middle at the moment. Maybe it's tactical, but I think Darwin, in upcoming weeks, I think those chances will be converting to returns. So I would, if I had to predict something, I think goals are coming for Darwin, because he cannot keep missing chances or having his goals disallowed with the centimeters of offside. So it's harsh as a Darwin owner at the moment.
Yeah, or to quote Breaking Bad, he can't keep getting away with this. That's the problem. If you're owning him, you're just like, and the fixtures are going to be getting really nice for them. I mean, as much as Gameweek 13 is a tough one for them, especially for the captaincy, Fulham at home in Gameweek 14. I mean, whoa. That's a spicy meatball if ever I saw one in terms of a fixture opportunity. Double Liverpool for attack for that one could be amazing. And then Game Week 15 away at Sheffield United. So those 2 fixtures stand out massively. And yeah, I mean, looking at those fixtures in particular, And just comparing them with Aston Villa, actually, who have Spurs away, Bournemouth away, admittedly, but then also Man City at home, Arsenal at home, Brentford away, between now and Game Week 17. I mean, Watkins to Nunez, so that you can get Fulham at home and Sheffield United away back-to-back, could be really, really, really tasty. So, yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on that. And yeah, good observation there. I mean, we talk about stats a lot, and it's also really, really good to talk about things in the game that stats can't quantify. We always have to be aware of what the limitations of stats are, and you've actually touched on some there. And it's an issue we often used to see with Jamie Vardy. Now, he was considered to be a stat buster at times. Would sometimes statistically have one official Opta-defined shot in a game, but Opta does not officially collect and then publish the shots that anybody takes after they've been found to be offside and put in the back of the net. Or, of course, there's no way you can quantify those moments when he makes a run and the players don't spot him. And that was when he was at his most dangerous, was when you had some people going, oh, he only has one shot a game, don't need to worry about him. It's like, no, watch the games and look at the way he moves towards the ball or moves towards the space. How often are his teammates finding him? Or his teammates not finding him and the manager's standing there on the touchline clapping his hands together and jumping up and down and pulling what hair he's got left out of his head, saying, pass the ball now because it's not going to, it's going to be offside or you're going to miss the opportunity. All those kind of things. As you've mentioned there are a couple of those things with Nunez that aren't going to come up in the numbers. So yeah, it's definitely worth talking about that. Well, we will return to data though, if that's okay, for the eye test purists out there, because we are going to talk now about Son. Promised a bit of discussion around him without Maddison. It's not a good start, is the spoiler alert for this section. He had just one shot, I think it was, against Wolves, which is way below his usual averages for the season. I actually did a comparison this morning when I was looking at Spurs before and after the Maddison injury. So game weeks 1 to 11, Spurs were averaging 16.9 shots per game. 13.3 of them were in the box. 6.1 of them were on target. In the Wolves game, just 6 shots on goal. Only one was inside the box, and 2 were on target. It's a huge drop-off. It's nuts how in one game against Wolves, not even like an amazing team, just a team they could have beaten, huge drop-off. So yeah, what was the impact on the XG for Son for this game?
I think let's not underestimate the Wolves fixture away, because they've scored nearly in every single one of the home games, and they're always a threat attacking wise, and they're pretty solid. I mean, I've in my article for Fantasy Football Scout, I believe I've mentioned Wolves as one of the tough fixtures if they're playing at home, and for the oppositions in terms of attacking potential as well as defensive output, I think Wolves is a fairly tough fixture, because they always score. They've failed to score in only one of the opening 13 games, and I think they've shown it once again with a great result against very, very good Spurs team. With Son, I think we'll have to monitor him for a couple of more game weeks before we start thinking of selling him, because we remember back in the days, even when Spurs were in bad form, I think Son and Kane were the ones scoring goals. And we can basically, knowing his abilities and qualities, I think he can always come off even when the team doesn't perform well. So it's Heung-min Son. I mean, his XG stats are just non-existent in that game, but he's always been known for scoring from low XG.
That's fair. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, he is a world-class player. And the thing is, he also is a bit of an enigma when it comes to stats this season, or at least he was, because he was doing quite well against the teams that weren't allowing many chances. He does well against teams that you get a lot of teams in the Premier League that don't give up many chances because they keep a lot of the ball. And so then in most of their games, they don't concede many big chances, so they look like, on the surface, are relatively difficult to score against defence. But if you're sort of aware of the fact that that's coming from possession rather than them necessarily limiting their opposition to chances from a defensive skill point, it can sometimes perhaps make you misjudge where Son's going to get his returns from. And so he does well against those teams because when they are playing possession football, they leave a lot of space. He operates very well in that space. So certainly Son, it won't be the first time that people are going to sit here and say, it's not just about numbers for Son. It's worth being aware of them. As you said, monitor is the key word here. Let's see. If we had like 10 games in a row where, let's say Maddison's out for 10 games, and across that 10-game run, Son has barely any XG each time and hardly any shots, then by then we'll have the conclusion that Son without Maddison not going to work. But for now, let's just see how we go. I would be nervous selling Son. I mean, I may well be the kind of person who would do it. I don't have him, so in a way it's kind of hypothetical. But I can certainly understand the logic of holding on to him based on what we know he's done in the past. But speaking of players who have done things in the past and are very much on the chopping block for people, another one of those is Ollie Watkins, and we've got the XG numbers for him on the screen from the most recent game. Some comparisons with Nunez, possible jumping on point between those two players next couple of weeks. Where do you stand on Watkins? Of course, you are an owner of the former Exeter City and Brentford man. What are your thoughts with him?
He's missed a couple of big chances this game. He scored one, but it was an easy cross from Leon Bailey, and you could have just, it was not as simple, but it was a tap in. So I'm not a big fan of Watkins, even though sometimes he goes off with the 16, 17 points. But I have him just because he's high ownership, and ahead of good fixtures, I had to bring him in on my wild card because he's over 40% owned, and every point he scored is just against you. And in some game weeks, it was a good captaincy shout as well, like last game week. And for me at the moment, he's just too expensive to. He's 8.4 million, and I don't think that's enough for a player that scores an occasional goal. And looking elsewhere, I think Villa has 2 away fixtures. One is Spurs and then Bournemouth, and then City and Arsenal at home, which aren't great fixtures. I don't think it's a must. I mean, you can. It's up to you, but for me, I would strongly consider switching Watkins to someone else because he's often just underperforming his XG, and sometimes he needs 2 or 3 chances to score 1 goal. That's the main argument for me to sell him, but you always have some other fires to put out, and if I don't have any burning issues, I think Watkins will be on the chopping block for me.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. If I had Watkins, I think it's got to be game week 15 where you'd maybe look to sell, and I think I can join this debate with a little bit of a stake in it because I got Diaby, so it's kind of the same thing. They're different types of players. I've been not unhappy with Diaby. He's underperformed against my expectations. Whether or not he's underperformed against his XG, I don't actually have that information to hand right now, so I don't want to give an opinion on that specifically. But the fixtures have been good of late. The returns have been not insignificant, so I'll take them. And I look at the next few weeks, and I think it's got to be 15 because actually the away game against Spurs I was worried about, but I'm less worried now because I think that with losing Maddison, not only does it hinder their attack, sometimes when you lose that creative player, you end up relinquishing actually an element of control over the game. And so then it means that sometimes it hurts your defense as much as it hurts your attack to not have the ability to capitalize on the chances that you get. Of course, they've got a couple of suspensions and injuries in defence as well, so they're not at their best right now, Spurs. And so I think you have to give Watkins and of course Diaby, who I've got, every chance to play 13, especially with 14 being away at Bournemouth. Bournemouth, they have pulled off a really great result against Newcastle, but so far this season, the stats both across the whole campaign, but also in the sort of last 4 or 5 matches, do put Bournemouth as one of the most obliging defences in the Premier League. So I think you have to give him that one. And then, of course, Man City, Arsenal, Brentford, 50-17. That's the tricky one. Perhaps the only spanner in the works, which I'm going to get your opinion on quickly, and then before we finish, because I appreciate it's getting very late on your part of the planet. Game week 18, when a lot of us could be short of players if we want to go without playing the free hit then. So that means no Man City players, no Brentford players. Aston Villa have the best fixture that game week. They're at home to Sheffield United. Arguably captainable, because Liverpool in game week 18, they can't cover Haaland. Salah can't really cover him for the captaincy because Liverpool actually host Arsenal. So that's a tricky one. So in that particular game week, arguably the best fixtures are, Villa at home to Sheffield United. And I think Newcastle have a good fixture that week. Yeah, Newcastle away at Luton. So it's really annoying because you've got 3 really awful games for Villa, but then they could be the game week saving investment in that blank game week if you want to go without the free hit. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of long-term strategy, but we need to start thinking about 18. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, it's coming up soon, and I think it's right in Christmas time, right? Was it Saturday, 23rd of December? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, that's right.
So it's right before the Christmas Eve, and I think we even have a game. Wolves and Chelsea plays on 24th, so it's an interesting timing for Boxing Day.
Very
and
true.
That game week is, I see Tottenham against Everton. It's not a bad fixture for Son if they keep up playing well. Newcastle is a good fixture, but yes, of course, Villa at home for Sheffield United. The issue I have with Watkins is that most of the goals that Villa score coming from midfield, whether it's Diaby or McGinn has been valuable asset for his price tag, and as well as Leon Bailey. Every time he comes on, he's either scoring or assisting. So it's the points are well spread around that Aston Villa team, and I'm not sure that 8.4 million justifies his output currently. So even though it is a good option for a captaincy option, I would consider someone else because he's not on penalties. He's a 90-minute man, but you never know with him.
Yeah, that's true. The time between now and then could perhaps allow you to be invested in Villa in time for a team, but maybe in a different part of their team. As you mentioned there, midfield, it could be the way to go. I think we will wrap it up there because, I think we've got through all of the things we wanted to talk about. One last reminder, of course, to sign up to Fantasy Football Scout membership. If you enjoyed some of those stats and tables and heat maps and all those kind of things, they were from the membership area. And so if you want access to that in a much more interactive sense, giving you the opportunity to sort of play around with it yourself, and of course the other advantage, and there are some people in chat who perhaps would maybe enjoy this, you don't have to listen to me talk about it on a video. It means you can just go and find it yourself. As far as I'm concerned, that's what you pay for. You pay to just take me out of the equation, and you can just get this information yourself. It's really, really useful, and the international break is a great time to do it as well, because you'll have lots of time to go over it. If you've enjoyed this video, of course, please don't forget to hit the like button on YouTube as well, and subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification. I think that's all the piece of housekeeping. Basically, you got to get out there, get your membership, hit all the YouTube buttons, bish bash bosh, you're sorted, ready for Game Week 13. That's all you need to do. Anything you'd like to add to the guys before we head off, Ali? And before you probably head off to bed.
No, enjoy your break. Do some research before you, or maybe take a break from FPL, because not many of us are playing well and doing well just like you, David. So I'll advise to take a break from a game and maybe get back to some, Fantasy Football Scout stats and tinker a little bit before the start of the Game Week 13.
Sounds like a good plan indeed. Well, with that, we shall leave you fine folks to enjoy the international break and your preparation for Game Week 13, and we shall see you next time.